done for me lately? It's Coons. What have y'all done for us lately? And if there's no answer, the only thing we owe them.
Welcome. Let's talk to people. Wow, it's been a while. It seems like I haven't done a show in a long time. And it's me and Sister Azima haven't done a show in a while. I did a show a couple weeks ago with Dr. Short. We were talking about some current affairs, and me and Sister Azima, we've been missing each other. It's been almost a month, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sister Azima, how you doing?
I'm fine. How's everybody?
Uh, well, I had told you, peace, Rodney. What's going on, bro? Salute. Um, so let me just keep. I'll let everybody else know in the chat what had happened. I went to Jacksonville on the 26th of July, and very good trip. Very good trip. My mother's side of the family, we have origins to Brunswick, Georgia. So I did make a couple stops on my trip to Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually stopped in North Carolina at my aunt's house and saw some family, saw my brother who lives in Virginia. And I was supposed to come back. And then the following week, I was supposed to have went to Flint, Michigan
Yeah.
to visit two different advocacies, two different people who are fighting the political structure in
Mm-hmm.
Flint, Michigan. And I didn't go. I didn't go. It got postponed. They had this festival that I was supposed to go to that prior Saturday, and they were having their local elections the proper Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people that I went up there to see, he had got sick,
Oh, okay.
and he's me and him are about the same age, and um, I'm gonna ask you guys in the chat to check out his podcast. It's called Flint After Dark. Um, and unfortunately, he passed away last week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, very good brother. I had linked up with, because Flint water is still polluted. And like I like to say, like the people in Flint, Michigan, like to say. So upon my return back to my home state, I had been tired. That travel years ago, I used to travel up and down the East Coast, up and down the East Coast with no problem. Um, I traveled driving a lot, and it was no problem. The recovery never was a problem. And for some reason, since I was able, this recovery was like no other. And I had been really tired going to work, coming home and just exhausted, not having no energy. So that is what I had going on, you guys in the chat. So this is why you guys haven't seen uh, anything from the channel. Like I said, me and Dr. Short had did something. Me and Sister Azima actually were supposed to have returned last week, but I stood her up. So she didn't throw anything at me. She didn't get upset. She didn't send that weather from St. Louis my way.
No, weather's been good.
Yeah.
But your tiredness has everything to do with the fact that our entire galaxy is now colliding with another galaxy. And that energy has a ripple effect. In the very beginning, I told you everything's vibration and frequency. that ripple effect um, permeates more heavily on melanated skinned people because it's a frequency that we deal with consistently. And so a lot of us are tired. And it's something like the ascension bubble because we're only 4 years. This is 2025. We only have 5 more years. When 2030 hits, we're going to be in the middle of the Great Reset, the great year of the Jubilee, the rediscovering of self, the great remembrance, the fact that melanated skin throughout the diaspora, not just Africa, not just the United States of America, but throughout the world, we are now coming into a vibratory frequency in which we're communicating with each other, whether we realize it or not. And we're stepping away from the capitalistic system, the system of eugenics, the system of control, to a system of unconditional and pure love, which is an energy field that produce, produces certain wavelengths and frequency. So right now we are in the time of discourse. That's why we see all this stuff and we consider it to be chaos. But if you're going to, you can't build a good house on a bad foundation. So you have to tear everything down and start over. So that's why you're tired. But it's not just you, it's everybody. I've talked to my friends all over the world, and it's the same thing. So if your audience, if our audience is experiencing that, that's the first thing you need to look at. That's where you need to get back into more meditation. That's where you need to get into frequency music. Um, Once you start doing those things, it helps align the frequency. The frequencies are based on your organs in your body. So once you can get your organs vibrating and aligned, you won't feel as tired. There will be this overwhelming sense of peace. No fear, no struggle, no stress. And you'll understand that wealth has nothing to do with assets, but
And
every.
that's how it actually was when I called you earlier. I had every intention of calling you last night, but I want to sleep, right?
That's
So
okay.
so when I woke up this morning, I just had this gush of energy, and I was like,
Yes.
"Yo, yeah, Rodney, we're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna put that on the screen in 1 second. What you're saying, but Sister Azima actually said something about that on during our conversation today. Um, I woke up and I had this renewed amount of energy. Um, and I was telling one of my partners today is some things that I need to do. As far as what I do here, I got some I got some other good things really going on with the channel. Um,
Good.
and even I want to let you guys know every Saturday it's going to be like a mini series of videos, and we're going to be talking about specific personalities. So
Mm.
one of them's going to drop this week, be about an hour long, and then like I'm gonna probably do like two or three. So just expect some stuff to drop on the channel. In reference to we need to be abreast of what's going on culturally, politically, spiritually, um, health wise, and so forth. So I meant to tape the episode the other day, but I'm gonna probably tape it, and it's probably gonna drop within the next 24 hours. But it's gonna each part is gonna drop. Probably be like this particular subject. It's probably gonna be like 4 or 5 parts, and so I can explain it how it ties into my trip that I was supposed to take to Flint, Michigan, because it's a
Mhm.
backstory of, like I said, why I didn't go, and I'm gonna explain it throughout the next month or so about some of the reasons why I didn't go and how
Mhm.
understanding what goes on in our inner cities with our people and getting away from the clutches of, let's just say, these corrupt politicians that some of us some of us really don't want to get away from the plantation. Some of us actually just want the keys to the whip. Some of us want to be the ones whipping other people instead of getting away from the plantation. And I'll explain it further in another show, and you'll get an idea where I'm going when I drop the personality. So, Sister Azima,
Mm-hmm.
Rodney put up in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
He's on something, so you and him are on the same frequency. This is
Mm-hmm.
what Rodney put up.
Yep, they're here. No, they're here. They never left. I worked with them many, many years ago. And those of them that could leave this environment and go back to wherever they came from did, but not before they had offsprings. Those offsprings have been deeply sheltered. Uh, and NASA is saying that we were going to meet them in November, but it appears that they may be coming more prevalent in September, from September through December. So yes, they are here. They look like you and I. They do not speak a human language. The offsprings might, but most of it will be telepathic or um, energy felt. And if you don't know what that is, you know what it is because you've gone to places and walk into a room and you'll go like, "Ooh, the vibe's not right." That's an energy um, type of communication, and you leave or do what you have to do and move on. So yeah, they're here. They are not. They are not emotional. We are very emotional. We emote all of our things. They're not that
Well,
way.
some Sister Azima,
Mm-hmm.
as I I think about Randy. Um, some people don't believe it unless the white man says it, and I know that Joe Rogan recently talked about it, the Anunnaki, during his podcast recently,
Mm-hmm.
and he shed some light on who they were. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how much he knew. I seen a clip actually. I don't tune into him as much as I may should,
Mm-hmm.
but I know he made mention of him as well.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of you and others have been saying it for quite some time,
Mm-hmm.
now when mainstream or someone else says it, maybe people will get an understanding of who they are and their purpose and our connection with them.
They are a type of archetype. But here's what I want melanated skinned people to realize: we were the only people here. We were the only people here. From the time beginning, when the consciousness bifurcated, we became. So the introduction of other beings and entities was the work of us, creating them through certain processes. If you go back and look at the teachings of Ma'at, or if you're looking at the story of Thoth, or Trismegistus, or Hermes, or Herodotus, or if you listen to Marco Polo when he talks about the Kafirs that you all call Chinese, that Japan means to be ebonite, it's known as Japa. Knowing these things, you have a greater understanding. Europe is named after Europa. She was a queen or a leader of the Phoenicians. And so you must know history, not American history, United States of America history. You
Sister Star
must,
said she was putting an APB out on you.
right?
She thought it was you. I told her it was me. She said, "Oh, she was about to gas up and go to St. Louis and see if everything okay."
St. Louis has been St. Louis like any other city.
She was worried about you, Sister
I
Star.
I know. I thank everybody for being concerned. I'm okay.
It
St. Louis.
wasn't her, you guys. Like I said, it was all me. And
Right.
I maybe, Sister Azima, pardon me for cutting you off.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I should have told Sister Azima what was. I kind of did, but I didn't.
Yeah, you
And it was
told me
just
the
like it was
week
just like,
before.
oh my goodness, I'm tired. Because you always ask me
Mhm.
first and foremost, how you feeling, how's the
That's right.
family,
I always
everything.
ask.
And you
Uh-huh.
guys in the chat, I had a conversation, a short conversation with one of Sister Azima's daughters, and hopefully we'll get her grandson or her daughter on the show one of these days, right?
Mhm.
So that was all me, Sister Star. Like I said, and Sister Azima was explaining, I had just been really, really, really tired from my trip to
Mhm.
Jacksonville. You guys, I drove to Jacksonville.
Mhm.
And when I got to Jacksonville, you guys know when you travel, your body has to adjust to that weather.
Mhm.
Jacksonville is that particular day, it
Mhm.
felt like 115 outside.
Mhm.
I was inside Central Air, but I had to leave. When I left, it was really, really hot. And then
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys really understand when you traveling, right? Definitely when you in a vehicle, right? So I was in a truck. I wasn't in my personal vehicle. I was in a
Mhm.
truck. I went down there to move some stuff.
Mhm.
So I wasn't comfortable.
Mhm.
But when you go from hot Florida to that
Mhm.
hot in South Carolina,
Mhm.
it's a totally different feel.
Mhm.
South Carolina felt crazy to me.
Mhm.
It's always a lot of bugs down there. There's just always a lot of bugs in South Carolina. I
Mhm.
don't do well with bugs. Yeah, yeah, you're right, Sister Star. When you travel, your routine goes out the window.
Mhm.
So when I get now, my aunt
Mhm.
that lives in North Carolina. This is
Mhm.
my mother's um, only living sister.
Mhm.
So my aunt's a worrier. So when my aunt knew I was traveling, at the end of
Mhm.
the day, I'm grown. I'm a middle-aged man, but that's still my aunt.
Mhm.
So she knew I was traveling. So I would have to call her like every hour, hour and a half, let her know, like, yo, I'm such and such.
Mhm.
So when I went to her house coming back in North Carolina,
Mhm.
um, she used to live in Zublin, but now she lives in Kinsley, right? So I get to her house and the weather's totally different. So
Mhm.
now I'm there. So my brother lives in Southern Virginia. So my brother came down and we had dinner. We had dinner and we
Mhm.
relaxed. And I really got some rest. And I wanted to get back to Pennsylvania a day sooner. So that's basically what it was. And I just been overwhelmed with the weather and my sleep was a little jacked up. My sleep is always jacked up, but it's different when you're traveling and your sleep is jacked up because it's your body definitely needs time to adjust. But as you were saying, Sister Azima, you were saying what most people perceive as chaos.
Mhm.
And one of the conversations that I wanted to have with you was um as somebody who is seasoned, somebody, and I hate to use the word elder, but let's just say for the sake of the conversation, an elder, you've seen a lot, you've been here, um,
Mhm.
you've seen a lot of moons and a
Mhm.
lot of different sunrises,
Mhm.
and so many quote unquote predominantly black cities
Mhm.
are having this crisis with the present administration, with him wanting to send the National Guard to curb crime.
Mm, no, that's not what he's doing. Let's backtrack.
Well, this is what they think. This. I need you to explain what's really going on and why it's going on,
Okay.
and because I think a lot of times we tend to, and it speaks about something that you always tell me, like this victimization mentality, like somebody's always doing something to us to harm us,
Mhm.
and I really want your insight to speak on what you think is going on and what you, because me and Randy had a conversation, and he's in DC,
Hmm.
and Randy, he welcomes it. Clean up these streets, clean up, make everybody feel safe and sound, and
Well, let's backtrack. Let's backtrack. This is August. So let's backtrack to May. In in the month of May, a lot of information came out. We were talking about the Epstein files and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden things started coming out about JFK and Martin Luther King. Trump was laying some foundations telling black folks you really need to look at the Constitution and really see how you fit in that. He also was passing that bill, executive order, only foundational black people or descendants of slaves or the actual 14th Amendment folks, should have birthright citizenship. So, in that, do you remember when all of the sanctioned states, you have a federal government, which is where the queen sits? It's called feudal, but we call it federal. You have a Supreme Court. Every state is a country within itself, and it has its own Supreme Court. It has its own executive branch, its judicial branch. Your executive branch is your governor, and your judicial is your body of court systems. And then, so it has all three branches of government. Every state does. It chose to be a state as opposed to um, countries living on one particular continent. So, with a state mentality, they all come under federal guidelines. And the federal guideline says that the Supreme Court, the federal Supreme Court, supersedes all of the lower courts. And so, because he was swooping in and sending people, they went from it being just the Hispanic people to being Asian folks. I mean, think about it. The Democratic Party has been throwing everything at you. It's almost like you're breaking up. It's a bad relationship and you all are fighting each other. And so you hurt each other by throwing everything that you can think of to hurt somebody's emotions. Well, they're doing that through legal means. And so what they did was that every time he picked people up, what did they say? Well, they got to have due process. No other country gives you due process. When your when your passport or your time there expires, some countries will execute you, and I'm not trying to be funny. And other countries will just send you back home, or they will arrest you. So Trump was doing what he needed to do. He didn't get as many people out of here like he had hoped, compared to Obama, who sent almost 5 million of them back. Nobody said anything because he kept the children. So, what was going on was that the states were giving him the middle finger and they were not doing anything. They were allowing corruption to continue. They, as a matter of fact, if you listen to many of the police there, they had hamstringed them on being able to do anything. And then the next step the sanctioned states did was that they were allowing people and encouraging them to shoot at the ICE agents, to shoot at the police, to shoot at the SWAT. And I don't mean just shoot, but they gave up their locations, their families, and they were going out attacking their families. And so Trump said, well, I have to stop this because the people want peace. And so he put the National Guard there. Why did he choose DC? Because DC is where what? All it's the seat of your government. And the Democrats were there. Now, I'm going to walk backwards again. With all of this, where these sanctioned states were fighting against him legally, and they were losing because the Supreme Court was saying certain things. Think back, the Democrats were saying, well, we need to get Clarence Thomas out of there. Let's find a way to get him out of there. Let's get Sotomayor, but she passed away. They were targeting certain judges, hoping that they would either die off or they could discredit them and put their person in. And so
And they're
that,
even talking, and one of their objectives is he actually even to expand the court.
right. And so then the next thing you saw was that it came down to voting on, there was some guy, Abrego Garcia, I think that's the man's name. He had murdered some people. They got him. He fled. It was a whole lot. It was a big piece around him. And they finally captured him, and they were demanding that they do due process with him. And it turned out that many of the the Democratic Party's people, the underbelly of them, were hiding this man out. Now, let's move forward to June and July. And what was happening was that after they started targeting ICE people, and it came down to having a significant vote on a policy that would affect everyone, what happened to the Democratic Party? They decided they needed to go on summer break. They went on their summer break early. Now, I want you to understand, senators and House representatives only put in 187 days for the entire year. Okay? The entire year. The other days are supposed to be for campaigning at home, and a lot of them don't do that. So it's public knowledge. You can look at their record, pull it up, Congressional Congress's calendar for 2025, and you'll see when they go out. And when they go out on a summer hiatus, they'll go out for 4 months. And so there was supposed to have been a bill that had to be passed dealing with this whole piece on ICE and on the immigrants, illegal immigrants. And so the Democratic Party, the Democratic Congress, okay, both representatives and senators, literally walked out in the middle of the vote, which meant that the Republicans only were there to vote, and you couldn't get a majority, a simple majority. And they knew that. That was a tactic that they used. In doing that, it delayed that particular vote, and other crimes began to step up in those cities. My sister lives in Illinois. It's a sanctuary state. I'm concerned about her. She's already told me she had a guy on a bike chase her. She's in her 80s. She's been verbally accosted. People are driving crazy and trying to push her off the road. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, and it concerns me. Okay. So what he did was what everyone was supposed to do. When we integrated schools, it was up to the president to send in the National Guard to protect those individuals. They didn't do a very good job of protecting us when we did the integration of schools. But now, many of them, the new National Guard has an entirely different view. And they're like, we can't have this. We have to strengthen the government. So what they are trying to do is to make sure that when the Democratic politicians come in to Washington, D.C., that they stay on site to do their job. Because when they don't do their job and the president uses only executive orders, unless he can get those orders converted to law, they're just executive orders. And people can rescind them when a new president is elected. And the things that are going on now behind the scenes, this is the real meat and potatoes now. Okay, everybody hated him for the whole Netanyahu stuff, but you have to understand there is a spiritual and emotional fight going on. Capitalism, New World Order is not where it expected itself to be. And so it's fighting this change tooth and nail. And in order to do that, they've tried discrediting him. But now their next tactic is to create disharmony between him and Elon. But the bottom line was, if you'd ever listened to his presidential address, he said Elon and the whole Doge piece was a temporary. It's to help him find that money that's been taken from us. And I know you all may not understand that, but I'm on a fixed income. And even though my dollars are in a trust fund, there are companies now that will not match your donation to the Social Security insurance. Therefore, your trust fund money shrinks. So what was happening was that instead of you earn the trust fund is real big, it's earning interest, and now they're taking that interest money and they're splitting it 10 ways instead of 5. And when they split it that 10 ways, they can give money to the illegal immigrants that are here under special programs and all these other opportunities. And now what are you doing? So when it comes time, I'm one of the more fortunate ones to where my income's a little higher. But there are people out here that barely make $400 or $500 a month on their Social Security. And then where they would have automatically gotten that cost of living increase called COLA, it was removed from them because the interest money was reduced. And in reducing the interest money, what happens? Your ability to sustain yourself dries up. And the only time you can get a lot of anything from the Democratic Party, all these little benefits you hear them say on TikTok and all this stuff, $5,000 stuff over here if you're on Medicare and Medicaid, they want you to be indigent. You better have lupus or cancer of the lungs or, on your
I'm gonna,
deathbed.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you, as someone who's seen um, at a time where socialism was not so ingrained in our society, where if you even muttered the word of socialism, we were dealing with the McCarthyism era. You were dealing with Hoover would put them people on you, and now you see how that party, for lack of better words, and they actually took in the words from Dr. King, because he even said the word. He said socialism, democratic socialism. How that party has literally went full blast socialism, full blast having you and everyone hooked up on a system. Have have you do you see that change? How they're literally, like you said, they're trying to make people um, indigent, depending on what they give us. You see that with the
That has, okay, so first of all, let's stop. Let's stop with fascism, socialism,
okay.
communism. Those are deterrents, they're distractions. The real game here is New World Order and eugenics. That's it. And it has always been at the base of all of it.
Mm,
Okay. You practice socialism every day. You're socializing with me. If I really need something, there are people out there I can go to and they can assist me. That's an act of socialism. Being able to assist someone, either spiritually, physically, through assets or whatever. That's a form of socialism. Communism, what does it really mean? The root of it? Communal. It only become an ism means that it's fractured, it's separated, it's segregated. So isms create fracture, division. Socialism is division. Communism is division. You remove those isms and you have the root of the word, you know what it's all about. We have been doing this all over the world since time immemorial. So this is not a new process. And no, we did not, what's the word? We are not an evolution of apes, because when a creature or a species evolves, what was under this doesn't exist. Apes still exist. Okay. So you did not evolve from that. You have to go back to when I told you you were a frequency. And the frequency, when it reaches its maximum ability to put something out, it will transform or transmute. And in that transformation or transmutation, you begin to create cymatic frequencies, which makes you be able to have physical objects. Okay. This is a visceral form, a physical object to house your spirit and your soul. But the priesthood around the world felt it was their place to take over. They began to look at a certain group of people and they felt it was their place to take over. So they needed a whole new world order theory. And every 500 to 700 years, Rome falls. Whether it's Rome in Italy or Rome in America or Rome in Russia, it falls. It fails because it's only based on material things. You are not a material thing. You are a spiritual entity vibrating at a frequency greater than love. And it moves very fast. And so we are now in that place, bringing back balance. And to bring back balance, you must bring back the feminine, because it has been systematically removed. And you're in, what is that? The Holy Ghost, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Somebody had to give birth to the child.
So, so let me ask you, right?
Uh-huh.
Why you've seen the National Guard deployed before, right?
Mhm.
I live actually about 2 miles from one of the biggest armories I ever seen. Like huge
Okay.
armory, like huge.
Okay.
And I always find it fascinating because it's a park that I go around there and I go in the park,
Mm-hmm.
I walk and
Mm-hmm.
do what I do in the park, and always be fascinated because they got the artillery. You can see some of the artillery in the parking
Mm-hmm.
lot. And I've seen right after 9/11, I happened to be working within 200 feet of the towers. I was doing
Mm-hmm.
some work.
Mm-hmm.
So the National Guard, after the towers fell,
Mm-hmm.
I did some work in New York for like 2 weeks, right there. So I was like right there. So the
Okay.
National Guard was there. So I would always see them, show them my ID.
Mm-hmm.
They would explain that with the clearance that we had to go where we was going, because we was going to this building that was right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always talk to them. I would always be real inquisitive, ask
Mm-hmm.
them where they from, and I never had any negative experience with them. They would always be like, "Oh, I'm not from around here. I'm from Kentucky or
Mm-hmm.
another state or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
Why does it appear that people are in so much fear of the National Guard being around, or feel like they have to protect, uh, like if the National Guard is going to cause a problem, or like they're attacking melanated folks. I've seen a lot, so I'm not accusing nobody. I'm just saying what I've seen on mainstream news, and I don't watch the news frequently.
Hmm.
But what has been your thoughts with some of the interaction that people perceived is going to happen with the National Guard?
America has never been in a situation like um, France, China, Japan, Vietnam, Russia, Croatia. Their military was their police, and so uh, in the art of war, if you're going to create a military, a good military with great leaders who understand the lay of the land, the thoughts of the people, the will of of the universe, then you do not put soldiers who live in that area to protect the people, to guard the people. You bring strangers in. That's the first thing. You do that because they have no alliance to you. If you lived in a part of the country where you saw the military as the police, because that's all you had, they didn't see it necessary. They didn't have corporations. Police are policy enforcers of the corporation. The United States is a corporation. Okay. London is not. It's a city in England. Okay. That's the difference. And so you have policy enforcers. And the policy enforcers were always where the corporations were, which were always in cities next to major ways of transportation, railroads, airports, river routes. Before there were highways, you still had snow routes, and so you place your cities there, and you build your police department there. People know them because most police officers, those jobs were patronage jobs. If I was good to that politician, I got to be the police. You can't be good to a politician and be a soldier, because the purpose of the soldier is to protect the rules and regulations of the United States and the people thereof. And the people also were pulled into the military as militia, because militia means Minutemen. So one minute you're the farmer, and the next minute you're out here fighting. And so people stand back from that because of the recent conditioning, especially melanated people. The conditioning we saw was that we were being integrated into schools in the South, and the military had to come. But even though the military came, they were not military. They were not military personnel that believed in the process of change. Didn't matter if they came from up north, out west, those white soldiers still had a perception that we should be less than them. So
Look,
it still
and Sister Azima, was, and I apologize to you.
what?
I asked you a question, and I already knew the answer, but I just asked you a question that I shouldn't even ask you.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
said, have you ever dealt with the National Guard, and you from daggone you a hop, skip, and a jump from Ferguson,
Yeah, I
and all that went on, and I always try to keep that fresh in my head when we have conversations.
but our National Guard will. Our
Is
National Guard, yeah,
you
they were
saw
cool with us.
yeah,
Yeah,
you saw it from the ground.
they
You
were cool
saw
with.
a incident that was as we would say, festering, and
Yes.
then you saw it become just a local incident to a state incident to a national and a world and an international incident, and right
It,
in your backyard. And
it never became a state incident.
mm,
It jumped from being a local situation because the chief of police felt he was going to put us in people in our place.
he usurped
So
his
there,
authority.
he very much did that. And he had some people in high places and he called them, superseding the governor. And Governor Parsons said, no, 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 no. But he had superseded them.
Mm.
Okay. He had he had the news media arrested. He had cameramen arrested. The peacekeepers came here. Okay. We had all kinds of people here because they realized it had gotten out of hand. I mean, really out of hand.
Because Sister Azima, I'm gonna tell you, and I could be naive with a lot of things because of my own personal experiences.
Mhm,
I am, and I need to chat to understand what I'm saying. When I say I'm naive, is that I'm not dumb.
mhm,
I'm not dumb, but I'm naive.
mhm,
I'm naive to the fact of why do I always see that melanated folks always want to be the face of opposition? Like him going to DC and sending the National Guard to DC, me personally, that don't got nothing to do with me. Now, if I lived in DC, I would feel that way. I have nothing to do with it. Sister Azim, I have nothing to do with. Listen, I've seen it. Like and you guys, I'm not speaking of the National Guard, but I'm speaking of state police. And what I mean by this is that in New Jersey,
mhm,
you have certain areas that the crime could get a little crazy. It could get out of hand.
mhm,
And what'll happen is the state police will come.
mhm,
And when the state police come, they get very aggressive. They're very aggressive. They're different than the regular, like you said, Sister Azima, because they don't have that connection
mhm,
with that community, they
mhm.
come in there very aggressive, right?
And they come in because they have been given orders,
Yeah.
certain orders. Mhm,
Now, I'm gonna tell you,
mhm,
it has nothing to do with me.
mhm,
I never felt like it was an attack on what I got going on.
mhm,
And I don't feel that way now. Like I come and go.
mhm. Um, I
Why does it always seem like it's always gotta be a melanated person on the camera feeling like they're being attacked? They're
you're
gonna
in
be
your
in our communities. Go ahead.
you're in your 40s,
I'm 50.
huh?
I'm 50.
50. Okay. So when I was growing up, the National Guard didn't stand for us.
Okay.
They stood for white America. They were the best of the best of the white guys that could shoot in the military. And many of them came back and became state troopers. They wouldn't send the local police, they would send the National Guard
Okay.
or state troopers.
So they were the
You
real race soldiers, huh?
Huh?
I said they were the official race soldiers.
Yes, they were living up to the New World Order of divide and conquer.
I have a question here for you too.
Mhm.
Uh, we could take the conversation here.
Of New World Order? Okay.
In eugenics.
Hmm. They are the top
Orchest-
100 families of the world. You do not know them. You think it's the Rockefellers and the Mellons and the DuPonts. They are not. The Chargills, have you ever heard of them? The Riglins, you ever heard of them? These people are rich beyond your perception. They, Halliburton, Halliburton, BlackRock. BlackRock's a company, it's not a family, but it is owned by several other families. Dwarpa. And what they do is that they had a plan, and this plan is not new. This plan came about, I want to say, on the heels of Jesus Christ. There was a plan. Because if you go through the Bible and you go through the Christian Bible, you'll see that the people that were marked were none of the descendants of Ham. They were not the black folks at all. They were white. And so that narrative, based on the priesthood, they needed to change that narrative. And so in changing that narrative, we have to change you. We're going to segregate you. We're going to pummel you. We're going to, for years, you always hear white people say, I'm for the Aryan race. Well, go look up Arianus, because that's who the Aryan race is named after, and he's a black man. He's like black, like the bottom of your shoe that has a black rubber sole. And why does he stand out? Because he told the Medici and the Borgias that he understood that you have mutilated the concept of Christendom. Christendom is not a person, but a state of mind. And because you manipulated it to such a level that all that sits around is confusion, and you burn everything to make sure that you keep the status quo that you are trying to establish. This happened 5,000-6,000 years ago. So the whole purpose of New World Order was to change the perception of the truth. The truth was the world was melanated. And we understood the relationship. Remember we talked about natural law, law of peace, okay, divine law, the laws of Mott. When you intune that into your life, you live your life entirely different. You don't chase after what they put in front of you. See, right now they have a carrot in front of us, a hot dog, a car, money, and we run after it. But when you come into your understanding, your true awakening, you don't run for it. And they couldn't control that because that was the unspoken rule among ourselves. And so what do? They want to make you think that being illiterate, it means you are ignorant. You're not ignorant. Illiterate means I just don't read and write. But some of the best scientists never read and write. Okay? And yet they created. Go back 5,000-6,000 years. Look at those buildings that we built. The temples that we built. They're still standing. Now go outside and look at that pothole in front of your house that they fill in every month after the winter, and you still have a pothole before March comes. What happened?
Don't be messing with my job.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, let's look at that. When
I
we
try to I
But
try
we
to tell everybody. People always try to tell me, "Oh yeah, they could use better stuff." I'm like, they can't find better stuff.
that's because they don't want you to. There is better stuff out there. And they know that. But they have to make you feel terrible. Okay. And so that's what they do. They lie to you. Europa is named after a black woman. We call that Europe. Okay. Catherine the Great was a brown skinned woman. She gave Peter a son after he had sex with his mama, his sister, his cousin. So the whole, and everybody laughs at that, but I want you to go back and look at that system. That system hated women. And they were not above skinning them alive, turning them into prostitutes as early as age 5. They were raping young boys, especially in Rome. If a senator in Rome liked a young guy, they would castrate him, remove his testicles, so that he would always have a high pitched voice, and then they would dress him like a girl. They did it to the men in Japan, to the concubines in China. You have to know this history. So, New World Order is not new. We only call it new because we're new to the game. But it has been around for more than 5,000 years. And what happens is that when you trace the family line of the Medicis, those were brown skinned people. You trace their line, you'll see. Rothschild only means red shield. Their real name was Mayer and Bear, like Bear aspirin, and like Oscar Mayer or Mayer hot dogs. Those were part of those families. And nobody wanted to work with them. No one in the world wanted to do business with them.
And this is a
Because,
common thing. This is a common thing, you guys in the chat. A very common thing. We don't do it, our people, but this is a common thing amongst them where they change their names.
always. And
Very common.
yes, and you have to look at that and go back and see what's going on. So, to answer your question, why are we always on the front lines? Because we were defending and protecting those that couldn't defend and protect themselves. But now it's almost like the black politicians, they wear it like a badge of honor to dishonor you,
Mm.
to dishonor themselves. And they'll be quick to tell you, you don't know what you're talking about, but you have all the facts in front of you. Coretta, remember I told you Coretta's, what was the lady? Rosa Parks wasn't the first person. And not even a young lady named Claudette. There was Susan Brown from New York who got on the train, the bus, or whatever, the trolley. She paid her dime to get on there. And then they told her she had to get off. And she said, no, I'm not getting off. And so when they forced her off, this was in 1821, people. Her husband was renowned. He was a textile merchant. She was a great educator. And she took a gentleman, got a white lawyer. His name is Arnold. He did run to be president. He didn't make it as president, but he won her case. So I want you to understand these are the people who give you 1% truth and 99% of misdirection. And they'll have you believing everything. When I went to school, my mother had to make my lunch and my breakfast. There was no such thing as a school lunch program. And if the Black Panthers hadn't come along and created it, you wouldn't have it today. So my thing is that we do have people who are standing on unfounded principles. They still want you to only see the world through the eyes of racism. But racism was created when we had horse jockeys. Because a racist was a guy that could ride that horse with a surrey and win that race. And they changed how words work. Remember, I told you a faggot was a bundle of sticks, and now it's anybody that's a homosexual. You have to be careful with them because they their agenda is to make sure that we never get back to our allotted place. Our allotted place is that spirituality comes up out of us. We are humble people, not because we are frightened, but because the work is so great that it's humbling. You know that even when you work for other people and you get out here and you go to work, you go like, oh God, what a day this is going to be. And you humble yourself. You do. You don't
It's,
go in the job, yeah, I got this made out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do
it's,
that.
it's,
You don't.
it's funny is because I work with a lot of people. Sometimes I work with just one person,
Uh-huh.
but then every now and then I work with a lot of people, and I'll be having them cracking up because I literally tell them like, look, take some pride in your work because
Yeah.
I'm able to look at what they're doing and be like,
Mm-hmm.
look, that's messy,
Mm-hmm.
and they always be like, how the hell do I know? Because that's not my aspect of the job. And I'm like, look, that's messy. Take some pride in your work. Your signature is on that work. And they always be like, how the hell do you know that? I'm like, listen, man, I've been doing what I do for so long. I know what you should be doing. And a lot of times, like you said, people don't have that type of how can I say that type
Work
of
ethic.
joy
They
or
don't
work
have it.
ethic or
They don't
work responsibility.
they don't have, and that's by design. Because when I worked for NASA, we had to build our boards. You take them boards, when you open up your computers and stuff and see those little green boards, they were not like that. They were huge. We had to put our own capacitors on there, our own transistors on there, our own, you know, gates. We had to do that, and resistors. And you need to know how to do it in series and parallel.
Okay.
Okay, we built those boards, and you had to test your board. And if your board didn't work, you had to build it again. And you had a timeline to get everything done. So we were good at what we did because it's just ingrained in us. And let's talk about right now. Don't just throw this out here. If you look at the little TikTok stuff that's going on, you'll see recently on my feed, I have seen a whole bunch of high school black youth with grade point averages of 4.0 to 4.6. Okay. That's an H. That's not an A. That's an H. Honorable. Okay. They are graduating valedictorian at the top of their class. Scholarships are running to them everywhere, but also as indoctrination. But what I like about it is that their parents are saying, go get this education, and we're still going to teach you about your history. And what it does is that it keeps them socially correct, okay, with a sense of responsibility and humility. And they're going to school and they're being all of these things outside of doctors. They're even coming back down and being the engineer, the so forth. And so I hear them say things like, well, I want to do so and so because I want to change the business structure of how to do X, Y, and Z with certain companies and corporations. You don't ever hear no white folks say that. And I'm not downing them. That's not their thought process. Their thought process is to conquer. Our thought process is to make it better so all of us benefit. But over time, you will see where some of that has been massaged or manipulated out, and we go right back to that dogged mentality: money, fame, cars, women. Okay, and money, fame, car, women, and men. So that means that those people are socially broken. They're spiritually broken.
Sister Azima,
Yes.
you have another question here.
My thoughts on reparations. At one time, I was all for it. But if Trump lives up to what I think he will do and really sticks with the plan that him and Ice Cube came up with, the
With Bill
platinum,
Black?
the platinum plan. Right now, there's over 750 million government contracts out there. 750 million just in my state. I'm thinking it's almost a billion contracts out there. And Trump is pushing for us to learn how to get out there and get those contracts. There, and look on the TikTok and all of that. You'll see all these women coming up, Sister Bo, Sister Mary. Um, they're teaching you how to go out after the government contracts. And I mean, they need government contracts for every single thing. Everything. I don't think people realize how bad it has gotten. Veterans hospitals used to be great. They are at the bottom of hospitals. And that's not, it's funny, it's ironic. I laugh too, but the irony of it is that I've watched my family members die at the hands of those hospitals.
Yeah.
Okay. You could go in there and get whatever you needed. The medical system is an industry. It's not out here to make you better. Their whole purpose is to kill you slowly and make money off of you. The whole thing is money. It's money oriented. It's capitalistic. It's really geared towards slavery. And you don't need these people coming in here from other countries and getting the lowest paid job, because all you're doing is enslaving them. And then you build laws that hurt them. So now it takes 10 family members, if they are from Mexico or Honduras or whatever, to make enough money to just live in a place. And you can't put 10 working adults with their children in these houses because we have these rules. A family can only be made, if you got a family of 4, every child's got to have a room. And then the husband, well, it's got to be a 3, but they purposely set up roadblocks and obstacles. And those black politicians who have made it their mission to keep us blind are the ones who are fighting the hardest.
And
Because
that
I'm sorry.
and that will answer that will give me my answer as far as my position on reparations. My position on reparations is clear. I mean,
Right. To
it's
me,
it's it's owed to all of us. And if you like Sister Azima, you guys in the chat, before we even started conversating about what we were conversating, not just today, when we talk about that constitution, those two constitutions, what this present president is saying, who he's speaking to, what he's saying.
mhm,
Um, we have a bunch of black politicians who are traitors of their own race,
mhm,
and they should be treated like traitors
mhm,
because, in spite of political affiliation, we have somebody who is not melanated who is sitting in the seat of authority, and he's literally screaming
Mhm.
at the descendants of chattel slavery
Mhm.
to take their place.
And we need to do that. And we need to look at
And
that's our reparations,
we're
right?
so caught up with whether somebody has to. Sister Azima does not have to tell me uh, to sit down. If she invites me in her house, she don't
Mhm.
have to tell me to sit down before I find a seat in her house. Sometimes we want people to literally say certain words for us to take our place. When one of the things that has been going on with that illegal immigration, and when you start talking about that 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, that is what freed the slaves, not President Lincoln's declaration
Mhm.
of a proclamation or whatever he did, the Emancipation Proclamation. That's nothing but an executive order.
Yep, that's it.
13th, 14th, 15th Amendment is what freed the slaves.
Mhm.
When that is get questioned, whether whatever political party you align with, that is speaking about, like I said, the descendants of chattel slavery.
Mhm.
That is the seat. That is the reparations talking point. That is speaking directly to those people.
Mhm.
And it should be no mistake when we see people that are in opposition to the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, whether they're melanated people or not, those people, those descendants of the slaves, who the 13th and 14th, 15th Amendment are talking about, whoever's in opposition of that birthright citizenship,
Mhm.
those should be your enemies.
Mhm.
Plain and simple. And this is one of the reasons why we've been discussing it. In October, birthright citizenship will be ruled upon by
Mhm.
SCOTUS.
Mhm. And that's why Trump wants those politicians in their office to vote on that. Because even after it's voted by the Supreme Court, there's still things they have to enact at their local level. And what they're doing is they're doing what we call a strike. They're striking because they're as long as we were compliant, they didn't strike. Think about it. As long as we were compliant, they didn't go out here and do one third the stuff you see them doing now. You don't hear any of them talking about reparations. Reparations was the target word. And now that we're in a place where so many more of us are coming out of colleges, high ranking, and we're not going into college just with a sports scholarship. Got that? So now we're coming out ready, prepared, and we have a collective mindset. And the mere fact that we shifted, Lyndon Johnson put us in this situation. He promised the Democratic Party we would be voting for the next 200 years, Democrat.
And you literally have black people literally telling their constituents that they're willing to punt for the next 3 years, 3.5 years, until they feel like they can get back in power for us to get anything. If that's what you want out of your politician, you expect if you have a politician who you voted for, whether it's local, state, or national, I don't care who's in charge,
Mhm.
whether what party they're in, you're supposed to go and you're supposed to negotiate tangibles for me
Mhm.
in our community.
Mhm.
If it was a Democratic president and I voted Republican or I voted Democrat, I don't
Mhm.
care if you like them or not. I don't that don't concern me whether
Mhm.
you like them or not. You're supposed to go there and you're supposed to say, listen, I need to bring something back to my constituents.
Mhm.
Period. But now we have unfortunately, a Democratic Party, who majority of us melanated folks continue to put in office, continue to be in the major black cities, who literally have told us that they're not going to do nothing unless you're from the LGBTQ plus, unless you're illegal, they're not going to do nothing for you and I. People are losing their homes by eminent domain. People are being, like you said, Jane, people are being phased out of getting those type of contracts because they're telling us we're not even going to negotiate. We're not even gonna deal with him. You're not we're if you live in a country, if you live in a state where it's predominantly Democrat, your state officials, your elected officials are literally telling you that they're not gonna work with the president.
Mm-mm.
That's not politics. Politics is you're supposed to work regardless. You ain't gotta like somebody. Ain't about like, but us as melanated people, we've gotten caught up where we're so emotional responses to what's going on that we don't realize it ain't about being emotional. It's not about that. You have birthright citizenship right at your doorstep
Mhm.
where SCOTUS has to
Mhm.
interpret
Mhm.
the Constitution. When they have to interpret the Constitution, they have to literally explain why the amendment was made, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, and who it was intended for.
Mhm.
If you are a black politician who is a native black American, as we say, foundational black American, as you say, American descendant of slave black American, how can you sit there if you're a politician? How could you sit there and go against what's going on? The only people that would go against what's going on are people who are traitors. No, there is no interpretation of what that is. You don't need to try to figure it out. We should be welcoming birthright citizenship, definitely if you're a native black American, because those amendments was made for our people.
Mhm.
So it's important for us to understand the moment and understand what it is. All the way up until the beginning when Callie House was fighting for reparations. And everybody been fighting for reparations from back then till now.
Mhm.
Some people have been fighting it for so long that they tired. They don't want to keep fighting for it. They give it to the next generation to fight for it. But when you have moments where you're getting clarity on those amendments, everybody should be speaking about it. But you see who's not speaking about it. And that should give you and I enough evidence right there of who's really going to be fighting for you. This is why we don't get those contracts. Because you know who get those contracts? Their buddies. Their buddies. I'll give it to one of my friends. I'll get him the contract as long as I get a kickback. This is what Sister Azima was telling us a month and a half ago when Doge started going at USAID.
Mhm.
All this money was getting funneled to an organization that was supposed to help people in other countries, and none of them fought back.
Mhm.
You know why nobody fought back?
Mhm.
Because they were in the wrong.
Mhm.
Because money always get funneled down
Mhm.
that's supposed to be to our communities, and then it don't ever get to the people it's supposed to.
Mhm.
It's just like the old scheme that people used to say that what's that the what's the nonprofit code? I can't remember the code. I can't remember the nonprofit code. Y'all remember the nonprofit code? It's the nonprofit code, 401c. You know that
Oh,
code,
501c3.
501c3 code. People use that as a scheme. A lot of people use it as a scheme. You get there, you get a good grant writer, you get the money for the grant, and now you can't even fall under the scope of where all this money has went. So now, guess what? You all of a sudden your 501c done went out of business, and it's like, what happened? You had a nonprofit. You were getting the grant money. That's because you can't locate where the money is.
Mhm.
Look at local politicians. You literally have in every aspect misappropriation of funds in local government, in county government, state government. That should be going down, should be getting, as they say, trickled down to people that really need it. Like,
Let
so
me just, yeah. Um, there's a lot of states that have gambling that go on. And the purpose of gambling was to help with education. Are you all aware of that?
yeah, the lottery system.
Yeah, the lottery system was to help out um, schools that were underprivileged, not underprivileged, yeah, underprivileged. I'll use that. And it was also supposed to help out programs and organizations that worked with children that were autistic or had learning disabilities and senior citizens that needed housing, or who were in their last stages of life. So lotteries took off. People were doing, buying all of that for the Powerball and all that wonderful stuff. And then when that money came in, the states went, "Oh, this is great. This is great." So here's what they did. They went into their budget for those categories I talked about and reduced the budget for those categories by 10 to 15% and put your lottery money in there, which was it never got it up over the it never became a pot that was full. And I'm laughing because Missouri did it.
Yeah.
Okay, every state
And that
has
and that
their.
was and a lot of people don't know. Like I'm from that New York metropolitan area. When I was a kid, I remember when people still ran numbers.
Mhm. Yeah, me too.
That's all the picket is. It's numbers. And they basically took it. They took it, and like Sister Azima said, they started the lottery. They started like even tolls on roads. You
Mm-hmm.
don't see where none of this money goes.
Mm-mm.
Nobody's auditing these things. So I say that to say, like, when you and Gene, I hope that we answer your question about how we feel about reparations. We Number one, we have no choice to feel. We have no choice. We're descendants of chattel slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I think in terms of reparations, right now, these young Black people who are graduating as valedictorians and summa cum laude, and they're getting these big scholarships, that to me, that's an aspect. To me, reparations is allowing me to live my life free and clear of extra taxations and extra rules and regulations that prevent me from being at a state of peace.
yeah. See,
That's
and this and see what Sister Azima said, you guys. That is what we call somebody that's B1, right? Because for the most part, right? And I'll say Sister Azima's, she's our elder, right? That's what Black Americans want to do. They just want to be left the hell alone. Just leave me alone and let me do me. I ain't got nothing to do with what y'all got going on over there. Y'all gonna go crazy. We
Mhm,
know how to survive. We know how to make it on our own.
mhm.
Even going back to farming and tilling our own land, we good.
I mean, think
We
about
good.
it.
We good. Just y'all go drive yourselves crazy and leave us leave us to what we got going on.
Remember now, we were people who had cities with populations of 50,000, while the European had cities with populations of 2,500, maybe at best 5,000. We built cities. We had aquifers, we had toilets, we were already cultivating agriculture. So, and they know that. And they know that there's a TikTok out here that had me laughing. And
What you
the,
doing on TikTok, Sister Azima? I meant to ask you that.
it'll show up on my feed. I don't have it on my phone, but it'll show up in my feed. And I was laughing because the white lady says, this is all about the white people who want to create, white towns for themselves. And black folks don't really care. We don't even care. I don't care, you know.
Yeah, I seen that, and it was very interesting. And I
But
seen the guy, and he was talking about his. He has man Keith. He has the manifesto that Adolf had, right? And he was talking about his city that they're trying to do, and he basically has a podcast, and that's all he has. And it's funny how he's trying to build this city, and they're trying to make this city. Don't nobody care. Don't nobody care. We ain't emotionally caught up with what you. Just go do you.
do you?
Just don't infringe upon me and let me do me. But before we close out, Sister Azima, I think we're gonna Rodney asked about elaborate more about the Anunnaki. We're gonna probably have to talk about them on a
We
separate
need to,
show.
yeah, we need to talk about them next week. What is it he needs to know about the
No,
Anunnaki?
we ain't gonna talk about them next week.
I know, but okay.
We got something pressing. You've been like I said when I made my trip.
Mhm.
I'm quite sure you guys know about when you're going down south when you're driving down south. I told you my family lived in Brunswick. My mother's side of the family is from Brunswick. That's where our roots are. But right around Brunswick
Mhm.
is Jekyll Island,
I love that
and
place.
we've been meaning to have our conversation about Jekyll Island
Right.
and understanding what happened on Jekyll Island uh,
Mhm.
during this meeting in 1913 and what took
Mhm.
place,
Mhm.
how
Mhm.
our banking system was created. So we need to have this discussion because it'll bring us up to speed on um,
What Trump just did.
what he just did.
He wants to fire Powell.
Yeah, yeah, and understanding why he so wants the Fed chair to lower the interest rate because if he lowers the interest rate, people will start seeing that the economy is actually doing pretty good right now. But
And it's,
he has the interest rate so high, people think we're really doing bad, but he's actually getting a lot of these companies to come back and do business within America borders.
and I'm sure you've already heard that Walmart's tariffs and all these people are going to have tariffs. Before you all get upset with that, walk backwards to 2023, because I was ordering stuff online, and anything that came from another country, whether it was Korea, Japan, China, or France, they would slap a tariff on there, anywhere from $29.99 up to $79.99 for me to get that product. And I'm laughing because now it's not even there. I'm laughing. I'm really laughing.
But
But I'm glad to see everybody. I'm glad to talk to everybody.
yeah, hopefully I'll be feeling better.
Yeah, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Appreciate you guys in the chat. As usual, remember to like, share, subscribe, support the channel. Like I said, I'm just getting back into a space where I'm good at. I actually was having a very interesting conversation with my family, and when I last year before we moved, where I lived at, it was a little small, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was able to do a lot with a little. Now I
Mm-hmm.
have a little bit more space, and I got a little complacent and lazy, and then so I plan to be doing a lot of different stuff, and like I said, I'm going to explain everything about what the Flint situation and In understanding what happened in the 60s, some things happened in those 60s with our water in a
Mhm.
lot of major cities across this country with our water.
Especially Missouri, our water
A
is
lot of major
radioactive.
cities
Hmm.
in our country
Hmm.
with the water.
Yes.
A lot of major cities in our country with water.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna leave it at that. And it's not a conspiracy. It's
It's
actual
fact.
documents.
Yes.
It's actual
Right.
fact. What
Yeah.
has happened in a lot of major cities,
Hmm.
predominantly black, with our water, and we're probably still seeing the results of it and seeing what really happened when they changed some things over with our water. So we'll be discussing that, and um, I might bring something on. I did talk to my friend that's into the Bitcoin. He said he'll come on and explain it. He said he's happy with what President Trump is doing in reference to that currency.
Okay.
And um, I don't know if you guys ever heard the story of Robert Small. Robert Small was the ex-slave who stole the Confederate ship. Have you heard the story of Robert Small? I have a friend of mine who is a great grandson of Robert Small,
Hmm.
and me and him talked, and he's gonna come on and share his great grandfather's story. Quite sure a lot of people heard of Robert Small. They just ain't thinking, but he stole a boat, he stole a ship, and he's gonna come on and talk about his great grandfather and talk about his story. His story is very, very unique. He's into politics heavy. Um, so he's gonna come on and we're gonna have an interesting conversation because I've known him for a minute and he never told me who he was. His grandfather, great grandfather was. Yeah, he never shared that story with me, but he's been talking about it lately. Yeah, Rodney, exactly, definitely. That's definitely in the water. But remember, you guys, appreciate you guys. Uh, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Sister Azima, any final words?
Keep your vibrations up. Stay up. Stay up.
Stay up. Y'all hear? Y'all
Stay
hear
up.
Sister Azima using our lingo? She says,
Yep.
stay up, y'all. Like, share, subscribe. Until then, take care. Have a blessed week.